Hi, church family. Another episode, not from the family Von Trapp, but from the family Anderson. And this one, as we sing together as a family, hopefully will allow you just to enjoy your time together as families yourselves, as you sing this song together with us. Again, perfect for these times we are in. And this one is called The King of My Heart. Let the King of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the shadow where I lie, the ransom of my life. Oh, he is my song. You are good. Oh, you are good. Oh, you are good. Oh, you are good. Oh, let the King of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in my waves. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song. You are good, good. Oh, you are good, good. Oh, you are good, good. Oh, you are good, good. Oh. When the night is holding on to me, God is holding on. When the night is holding on to me, God is holding on. When the night is holding on to me, God is holding on. When the night is holding on to me, God is holding on. 'Cause you are good, good. Oh, you are good, good. Oh, you are good, good. Oh, you are good. Oh, good. Oh, so good. You are good and good and so you are good, good. Oh, you are good, good. Oh, you are good, good. Oh.
Well, good evening, everyone, or is it good morning, or whenever your devotion is. Our 5th chapter, 5th day in the Gospel according to Mark. And he has a particular style as he approaches his Gospel. And the style that he uses is where you can almost imagine as he has a lot of photographs in front of him, and he collates these photographs into little piles. And in chapter 5, he's got a photograph of 3 aspects of the Lord's miracles touching 3 different styles of people. And well, let's go through it. We're not going to read the entire chapter. What have you discovered in chapter 5, Charles?
Well, I just love this chapter. I was so grateful that you gave it to us. But it's a well-known chapter, and I've often read the story about this demon-possessed guy who Jesus healed. And I've often seen the emphasis on the pigs and the demon possession and all of those things. And this time when we read it, I actually saw the human being that Jesus touched and how personal it was. And here's a guy, he was living in a graveyard, I would presume, and he was so out of control that no one could, even when they put chains on him, he just broke loose. He spent his life crying and just hurting himself, and I just thought, what a desperate man he must have been. What a terrible life to live. And then Jesus comes and heals him.
This guy was in worse than lockdown.
Yeah.
No one cared for him.
Yeah.
Destitute.
Yeah. Just in a terrible state.
Even when Jesus says, "What is your name?" he doesn't even give his name.
Yeah. He was just totally out of control. Yeah.
He says, "My name is Legion." Imagine being called Legion.
And then the transformation when Jesus touched his life. He was sitting there clothed and in his right mind. And I just thought, what a wonderful transformation from this out of control, desperate man crying to someone sitting fully clothed. And then his first words to Jesus was that he asked him, "Can I be with you?"
Yeah.
And I just saw all the love and the gratefulness that was in him. And Jesus said, "No, go home and tell everyone what God has done for you." And I just thought, we've all got a testimony of what God has done.
Yeah.
And we need to tell that story to people.
Yeah, in your own way. And Mark closes off this little section by saying, "And all the people were amazed." It almost leads to the word doxa, which is the word doxology. And if Mark wasn't so restricted on time, he probably would have done what Paul does. He puts a comma there and goes into another gambit of life. But Mark is restricted here, and he restricts himself to the small section by saying these people were amazed. Why were they amazed?
Because of what God had done.
The story. The story of a man locked away, destitute, outcast. And like you said, we've all got a story to tell. And then the second aspect of this theme that Mark is doing in chapter 5 is when Jesus, in his busyness, crosses over the boat to the other side of the lake, and a large crowd was there already, because the story had got out that this miracle maker was on his way. And he was confronted by someone very high up. We had the first aspect of the miracle, where this man was destitute, outcast, lowest of all ranks, and he gets met on the other side of the river, of the sea, and he's met by this synagogue leader right at the top of life. So Jesus goes from the destitute to high-ranking officials. And the great thing is, if you know your need, regardless of rank in society, and you know that the man who will meet your need is Jesus, you'll go to him regardless of society rankings.
And probably he wouldn't have been popular with his
Associates.
associates. Yeah.
Yeah.
They probably would have looked down on him for doing this
But why was he there at this moment?
because his daughter was dying.
Yeah.
He had a need.
And when a need overruns rank, you discard all the ranks.
Mm.
You discard wealth.
Mm.
You discard what people think.
Mm.
You will go to the one who will touch and handle the need. And Jairus does that. And verse 23, just prior to verse 23, when he saw Jesus, he fell. Forget rank. You come and humble yourself at the feet of Jesus.
Mm.
And he pleads earnestly with him. Now in the Greek, that pleads earnestly is gut-wrenching, earnest, sobbing, please help me. It wasn't one of those, please help me, I'll sign off in triplicate and I'll get that authority degree in this. No, this is forget who I am. I have a need. I want you to please touch me. And he pleads, he's my little daughter, not just my daughter, my little daughter is dying. And when you come to Jesus with that kind of plea, you're going to find that he will always attend to your needs.
Mm. He hears your cry.
He does.
Mm.
What does verse 24 say? In the spite of all the busyness, Jesus went with him. And we kind of get this sense of, well, Jesus is going with him now, and that's the focus. But along the way, the crowd is still there.
Mm.
And there's another need that comes to the forefront, not just the one at the bottom of the social ranks, the outcast, or the one at the top of the social ranks. But somewhere in the middle, there's always folk with needs.
Mm.
And she didn't want to announce herself. And yet she had known enough about this man to have that kind of faith that says, I have a need. If I can just get a touch of your cloak, it's going to be enough. Imagine that.
Mm.
Imagine that. And probably during lockdowns, there are going to be so many stories of people looking for hope, and he's there.
Mm.
He's there. In crowds and on his own. And what does he do? If I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Immediately, says 29, her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. That's what the Lord does.
Mm. I love again, as with the demon-possessed guy, it wasn't something impersonal. It was very personal, because he said to her at the end, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." And he didn't just heal and then walk away. He had that personal touch.
Yeah. But to get to that, he asked two questions. Who touched my clothes? More than that. It's not just my clothes, who touched me? And we often kind of ignore that kind of progression of this woman's faith. I'm going to touch him. His clothes are touched. But it's more than that. It's beyond the clothes. Who touched me? And faith is just that. Faith is coming to him who's the Son of the living God and touching him. And He will touch you. Now, if you notice here, in verse 34, he said to her, what did he say to her? In verse 34?
Your faith has made you well.
Before that?
He said, daughter.
Daughter. And what's this passage about? Jairus' little daughter. And so the theme of Mark is very clever here. He pulls this theme all together with the same thread. Jairus is talking about his little daughter. Meanwhile, there's a woman who, to Jesus, is daughter. And there's that relationship of personal touching, personal relationship. And verse 35, while Jesus was still speaking, the synagogue, the crowd, the synagogue leader says, your daughter is dead. Daughter, your faith has healed you. Jairus' daughter, your daughter is dead.
And that must have been a dagger in his heart. Your daughter is dead. That's terrible news to get. And then Jesus understood that
hurt.
Yeah, that hurt. And he said, he spoke to him, do not fear, only believe.
Yeah.
Those must have been
Comforting
words at that time
Yeah.
after you've heard such terrible news.
Yeah. Don't be afraid. That's what we need to be now during this lockdown period, because we have lots to fear. We have lots to fear in terms of finance, lots to fear in terms of education, lots to fear in terms of maybe not getting the food, lots to fear because there are people homeless. How are you going to pay bills? Don't be afraid. Believe. You've got to actually see that the situation that we find ourselves globally has got to have a signature of the Lord Jesus Christ upon it, somewhere along the line. And in verse 39 he says, he went in and said to them, why all this commotion and wailing? Now he changes it. He says, he doesn't say daughter, he doesn't say your daughter is not dead. He says the child is not dead. That child is not dead, but asleep. And there's that normal reaction to statements of the Lord Jesus Christ. They laughed at him. Even today, if you were to spiritualize this lockdown, people will laugh at us. People will laugh all the time. But he gets into verse 41 and he says, little girl. And the daughter theme runs right through again. Little girl, I say to you, in the voice of him who created all things, where the winds obey and all things obey, get up.
And I love that Jesus, he got rid of the crowd.
Yeah.
He put them all outside. He took the child's father and mother and the disciples.
And made it personal.
And made it, that was such a personal touch, such a kind thing to do.
Yeah.
And
Now-
then he healed her.
Now that comment of yours is what is the thread right throughout here, because with the man called Legion, he had this personal talk with him. And he said, what is your name? Come out of this man, you impure spirit. With this woman that touched me, who touched my clothes? Daughter, your faith has healed you. And now he's got the Jairus and his wife and the girl, and he says to them, that's the Lord. That's who we serve. And there's another point in this tremendous chapter, is verse 42. Immediately. There were three immediatelies.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Three immediatelies. Well, it doesn't mention in Legion, but when Jesus saw from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees. What do you want with me? And he says, come out of this man, you impure spirit. In verse 8. What is your name? Legion. And it was immediately that those demons were
Cast out.
cast out. And then the woman touched me. she was touched immediately.
Mm.
Immediately in verse 29. Immediately her bleeding stopped. Now we get it again in verse 42. Little girl, I say to you, get up immediately.
And then
That's-
interesting, he said, don't tell anyone about it.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, sometimes there's a time to tell your story and a time not to tell your story,
Yeah.
and you have to be in tune with God's Spirit as to what the person's need is. And here he said, don't tell your story.
Well, folks, that's the end of our little devotion. May the Lord bless you and keep you and make his face to shine upon you. Let's pray. Father, thank you for this tremendous chapter, chapter 5. And we thank you for your constant touching of our lives. We thank you for the miracles that will come through this lockdown, stories to be told. Some will be told, some others won't be told. But your grace will continue to be sufficient for all our needs. Now your grace, your love, your mercy, keep us in the very palm of your hands. For this is our prayer in Jesus Christ's name.
Amen.
Amen.